everybody. Welcome into the Quickie Podcast. We love these things where we focus on one topic, a couple of items, and that's it. We kind of want to talk about it, and we hope that we get the message across in a quick manner so that it's both enjoyable and informative, and not to take up a whole lot of your time. So over there is Keith. How you doing, Keith?
What's up, Jay?
Oh, not much, man. Just living the dream, living the life.
I'm gonna develop a video game. Call it Hat Quest.
Okay.
Or Lid Quest.
Lid Quest.
And you're gonna star in this video game. I might even have to hire you to do the voiceover for the game, the VO, as they say. And here's the concept. You ready?
Yeah.
It's you running around on a quest to get as many hats as.
Yeah.
That's how you win the game.
Yes. The hat man has struck again. Right?
Yeah. What do you got?
This is local brewery, Anacortes Brewery, man. Good stuff. Know the owner personally, and he's actually the head brewer over there, as well as he teaches a brewing course over at the Valley Community College. So
there could be worse things to study for your tuition dollars, for sure, right?
And that's
a life skill.
I was having dinner with him last night, and we were discussing, which in a future episode or video we're gonna have him on or interview him and talk about the beer processes, the brewing processes, and how many beers they've brewed over the years. They've been those guys have been in business now for about 20 years, if not, a little over 20 years. They've got a really neat flight package that they're going to be putting out that's based on music. They've named some beers, and I won't reveal that right now, but I'll tell you back behind the scenes.
Another missed opportunity, man.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, you're calling.
Why are these guys not calling me to be their beer namer?
Hey, I can put your people in touch with their people if you like.
It's that dream jobs, right? Like for me.
Oh, of course. I mean,
beer namer.
Mine. Yeah.
Or when either Waldorf or is Statler kicks off with one of those two guys kicks off, I take his place. Those are the two old guys in the balcony on the Muppet Show.
Yes, man. Yes. They also, those two guys remind me of what was that, Eddie Murphy? Trading Places. Those two guys.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of remind me of those two guys.
So we got big deal. This Hummer thing, right? Just all over the news. So if you're watching this, this is Super Bowl weekend. You might be watching this right after the Super Bowl, depending on when you get to this video on online, or that's just right before. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of this stuff we know is coming in the Super Bowl commercials. We'll try to not spoil anything. I mean, I haven't really seen any of the commercials, but I've read about some of them. But huge news with out of GM and this Hummer that we were like, ooh, we got to talk about this, right?
Yeah. So wait a minute. Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Yeah. Do you hear that?
Oh, I get it. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah. The no engine. Yeah.
No engine. Yeah. So they're calling this thing what? The Silent Revolution.
Well, it ought to make these Nashville council members happy with their emissions bill that we. Yeah. Oh, by the way, so just before we get rolling here.
Update on that.
Yeah. So apparently they have. We did another video on. There's sorry, I'll stop stumbling around here. The city of Nashville introduced an idling bill that was going to basically fine people for letting their engines idle, in some cases a minute.
Yep.
I heard back from the council person that introduced the bill, and she said that they have tabled the bill, but it was a little bit confusing the way she worded it to me, but basically they amended it so that there's no money fine. And
which I find. I mean, what's the purpose then? I mean,
I can tell you, because once you pass it, it's passed, and then all you got to do is add a little fine to it
Yeah,
a year
I get
from
it,
now.
man.
Yeah.
See, people are not going to read the fine print. It goes back to what I was
The
saying
user,
the last time we talked. Yeah, the user agreements. They're not paying attention, man, and that's how stuff gets passed through.
So go watch that video
crazy.
if you haven't. And a quick thank you to everybody. We've picked up a lot of subscribers recently. I just want to say thanks for that. Very much appreciated. Jay and I have both seen some really encouraging comments from a lot of you. Some of you guys we know. Thank you for that. Thank you for subscribing. If you have not yet done so, please do over on YouTube. It's youtube.com/The Parts Counter Gurus, all one word. And just give us a thumbs up, if nothing else. A thumbs up, as I'm doing it here, lets Google know to recommend us to other people. So that's a very helpful thing. Yeah, right there. There you go. Okay. And so thanks, everybody. We appreciate that. Leave us a comment if there's stuff you want us to cover.
Absolutely. So, do you want to tear into this thing? And
So before we get into the Hummer, because, you know, it's a quickie. We talk about one thing, and neither one of us can contain ourselves, so we're going to talk about more than one thing.
Right.
WeatherTech is running a Super Bowl ad, okay?
Right.
Near and dear to my heart. I think near and dear to your heart, because you've been through some veterinary... I hear the cash register every time, you know.
Well, first and foremost, you know, what would bring to the attention, you know, everybody, whoever owns a pet, you love your animal just like you would your own child, man. I mean, that's just their family.
Yep.
And our you know, they bring us so much joy and happiness, man. That's why we own them, and you just want to take care of them. And so I'll let Key take it from there. But this really pulled at my heartstrings as well, and this is cool.
So the CEO, I think his title is, of WeatherTech. Now, if you're not familiar with WeatherTech, and I'm using some of their products and I'm a big fan, they are David
McNeil.
There you go. They are probably most famous for their floor mats. They're real heavy duty, real good quality.
Yeah, good stuff,
kind of winter grade, like mud, you know.
They were at SEMA.
Yeah.
They were at SEMA. Yeah.
So, he had a golden retriever, 7 years old, named Scout. Collapsed in the summer of 2019, took him to the vet, and they basically gave the dog like a month to live. Now, interestingly enough, I had a golden retriever I lost at the age of 7. He was 7 when I lost him, but went through the same thing, went through a specialist. He was kind of sick a lot. They basically bought me another couple years with him by taking him to a specialized vet. I mean, it was, you know, university, research campus, like tens of thousands of dollars in vet bills and all that. But basically the story goes that they gave Scout a 1% chance to live. They did some radical cancer treatment. It looks like chemotherapy, and were able to get him almost completely into remission, is the best that I could tell. Now, I'm reading this on NBC News, but a lot of news outlets have picked this up.
It was a combination of radiation and chemotherapy.
Okay.
And it was University of Wisconsin, I think, is...
So, that's right. Yeah. So, I think that's where WeatherTech is based out of. And so, Dave was so grateful that he apparently spent $6 million, bought a Super Bowl ad, which I cannot wait to see.
Yeah.
And basically thanks the vets and is, I think, pointing people towards donating to veterinary school research in this commercial.
Absolutely, because I'm going through a similar scenario right now. I have a cat who's about 15 years old, and we just recently found out that he's got a form of cancer going on, but we obviously don't have the luxury of deep pockets. But thank goodness for the people in the veterinary world, because our vet she understands how close these animals are to us, and so we've got him on a regimen of steroids, and he's improving tremendously. Now, how long he'll be around, I don't know, but it was looking pretty bleak. We could have made a choice to go ahead and unfortunately euthanize him, but we felt like he was not there. He was not experiencing any pain or anything like that. He was just a little weak. And I think that's where David was with Scout.
It's a rough thing to go through, man, and the bond that you have, and that's your best friend, man. It's a family member. I
saw the interview with him on it, and I highly encourage anyone to watch that. It's out there on the internet, but he was really getting choked up, and God, I felt for him because I did the same thing. You know, when you're talking to that, you get, and when you talk about it, you get choked up. So anyway, I jumped in on you there, but what a great contribution from him to do this.
Totally fine, buddy. Yeah. So I cannot wait to see this ad, which is going to run during the Super Bowl. Can't wait to see it.
Super Bowl ads, love them. That's just, this is going to be an interesting Super Bowl too, but this is one of those years where actually the teams that are against each other are the two strongest in the NFL and deservingly are where they are at.
That's right. Go Cowboys.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure Romo will be around.
Oh, thanks. So, yeah, man, you put your golden retriever in a commercial, I'm hooked. I just became a bigger fan of WeatherTech over this. Are
they public? Are they a public?
I don't know. We need to look that up.
We have to go see if they.
Okay, so surprise! GM made an announcement in the past 24 hours. Who saw that one coming?
We did.
But here's what they didn't have to say. Hear that? That's me trying to start my. Yeah, there we go. Oh wait, no, I'll get it. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Is it going? Is it going? Did it catch?
It's going. Is that a Chrysler?
No. Oh no! Hang on. Oh wait, I feel like any day now. Oh, there we go.
There it is. Give it a little gas.
Okay, so you wanna go for it.
Absolutely. So we catch wind yesterday. That's just barrage of these announcements being made yesterday. It apparently GM is all in on this EV thing. They haven't actually produced an all-electric vehicle, I think, since 2016. This is part of their goal of introducing, I think it was around 20 electric vehicle models by the year 2023.
They announced that a year or two back.
That's right.
We talked about it.
We jumped on that.
They're going to run a Super Bowl ad for this thing.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Yeah.
Now, it's officially going to be announced in May with an unveiling. So whatever we see in the Super Bowl commercial is not going to be much, I would expect.
No, and we did a little research on it. So for those of you very interested in this, so what we understand, GM is going to unveil what they're putting out there on May 20th of 2020. But they will begin taking orders in the fall of 2020 for a 2021 production vehicle. My understanding is they will have a truck version of this thing, and there will be SUV versions of it as well.
Yeah, the
specs are incredible.
LeBron James in the commercial. Look for that.
Yeah.
So they're calling this a 1,000 horsepower electric truck. Is that what you saw in the
correct.
specs?
1,000 horsepower, man, and 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
So now we've done similar things with, like, for example, the Ford Bronco, where we talked about the things that Ford needed to do to get right. And then Ford brings back they introduce Mach-E Mustang, and there's a lot of controversy over, okay, it's got the Mustang badge, but is it really a Mustang? So this is another one of these, like, okay, it's a Hummer, GM bought Hummer, and then they folded Hummer, and now they're bringing it back. But you better be careful. If you're going to call it a Hummer and it looks nothing like a Hummer or behaves nothing like a Hummer, that could backfire.
Right.
At least I think it could.
Right. It could. But let's go through the history of the Hummer before we make an assumption that that's actually what's going to happen. I think that GM was not paying homage to the original Humvee, which, by the way, the history of it is this: AM General, American Motors, basically, they were the manufacturers thing specifically for the military, and then I think as of '92 they started putting out some civilian versions of this, and I think the only differences between the stock Humvee and the H1 is what was later badged by GM as the H1. Humvee was basically put a coat of gloss paint on it, and they added air conditioning and some creature comforts on the interior. And I think that the bandwagon was jumped on by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think
there was a lot of celebrities picking these things up and having them converted because they were hard to get. They were an exotic item, it was and then driving them around, and and then it caught on. And what was the movie The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, where they featured one?
Right. And so it was a neat vehicle. I think everybody thought that this was the next off-road giant. And then of course GM took ownership of it. AM General sold it to GM, and then of course GM they here's what they did. Okay, so the first H1 was when it was taken over by GM, where I think GM actually supplied those engines to AM General.
That sounds right.
It was from '92 to 2004, I believe it was. They were using the it's a 6.2 liter, 6.5 liter. Excuse me. It's the L65 diesel. And then they came out with, to kind of make it more accessible to the public. In my opinion, they kind of downgraded a little bit. They went to what they call the H2 version. They put a 6.0 liter. It was the LQ4 Generation 3 VorTech in that gasoline version. They also had, in 2008, they went to a 6.2 liter, which was a Generation 4 VTEC, which also had, believe it or not, active fuel management in one of those years.
So they kept basically trying to make it more and more fuel efficient, which is kind of counterintuitive to what that was. But keep in mind, during that time, we were seeing there was a huge financial crisis, and essentially, I think it was 2009 when they stopped production.
That's right.
And the reason is because everybody basically shifted to very economic, like the Prius took off, right? So cars that were very economic because of the financial collapse, and nobody could afford to keep these big giant gas guzzlers around.
That's right. And GM basically cut production on the thing, stopped it. They filed for bankruptcy, I think, during that time frame. And there was actually they said it was a private firm was interested in purchasing.
I remember that. I'd forgotten
Hummer,
about that. Yeah.
It turned out it was a Chinese company. They were a heavy machinery company. Out of China, and they were serious about it, but they backed out of it, and then GM said, we're gonna shelf this thing, and let's see what happens down the road.
It could be a wise move. Moving this thing to electric does position you that you kind of have the best of both worlds, because if you get into another recession, and look, it's all cyclical. I mean, it's not a matter of whether or not it will happen, it's a matter of when. They're at least learning from that previous cycle, which is, okay, well, then we're going to take a hit if it's a gasoline engine, but if it's an electric, it's still plenty of, in terms of range and efficiency, it's fine,
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I'm all in with it. I think it's a smart move with this particular vehicle, especially with what's going on. And then, we've talked about Rivian on a number of occasions. Now, let's don't forget that GM has some involvement there as well with Rivian.
Well, Amazon dumped a bunch of money into them. Ford dumped a bunch of money into them. They're all learning from that.
Yeah. So GM has positioned themselves for this electric vehicle movement, man. This is what's been going on. Now, let's go back to an earlier podcast where we talked about the UAW. and the strike that was going on, and what GM was doing. Now, we talked about this just recently about the GM power plant going in down in Spring Hill.
Spring Hill, the propulsion.
They're going to be the propulsion. Yeah, they're going to be mass producing that 5.3 liter, which is one of the best V8s that GM has come out since the other small block, the 5.7 liter. So you've got that going on, but instead of completely closing down and getting rid of this plant, they retooled the Detroit Hamtramck plant.
$2.2 billion.
$2.2 billion.
Okay,
exactly.
Now we're gonna get into that on another podcast coming up. I had an idea.
Yes.
But
because of something else is being
GM's building something else there that's fully autonomous. But $2.2 billion to retool that factory and make it a hub for development for all their EVs, right? No, you know, Jay, like we've always said on the show, this whole EV movement, flash in the pan, right?
Flash in the pan, man. Never going to happen, right?
I mean, so if this doesn't further solidify that this whole electric thing, okay. So I have a prediction. Okay, it's story time. All right.
Oh, is this Grandpa?
No, it's not one of those. But I have so my wife sent me this message this morning. It was from an Instagram feed where apparently Google has come out now and said, like, you know, we've got this coronavirus scare going on. And people are Googling like corona beer virus. And have you seen this?
I did. People have said that they actually thought it was related to the corona, the beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that my head works is that got me thinking virus. And there's all this like cloud breach stuff going on right now, and there's all this AI stuff. And I've been watching Star Trek Picard. I'm 2 episodes in, and you know, not a spoiler alert. I've only seen 2 episodes, but I'm telling you, they are going to deal heavily with this whole AI thing. And so this is my idea. Okay, I got a movie to pitch to you. Okay. So how long, Jay, until 2 things happen? Some sort of legislation is passed that basically outlaws gasoline internal combustion engines over a certain displacement. Would you say 5 years, 10 years, like in mass production? Because they're going to say, well, you go get an EV if you need to, you know.
You know, that's a really good question, and it ties into something that I wanted to relate to the same thing, which is how we've talked about this in the past with technology and how quickly technology moves in our society today. And I'm going to say realistically, I think 5 years. I really think that in 5 years there will be mandates that you cannot build over a specific cubic inch or displacements.
Unless it's like heavy duty or it's, you know, specialized. I think this is going to happen sooner than most people think.
Yeah, I think that in the civilian world, for everyday usage.
Like if you just want like a half-ton pickup truck, or you just want like a 4-door passenger car, they're gonna say, those have to be electric. You know.
Yeah, and look, Ford and GM, all these guys are building for that.
Yep.
If you look at what Ford has done already, I mean, they've introduced those EcoBoost engines in the F-150.
If you don't think this is coming, and you think, you know, whatever, like if you're just a fan of it, you're a fool if you don't see this coming. It is
That's
coming.
Right.
So
it's very true.
So then I got to thinking, because of this text that my wife sent me about the corona beer virus. I thought, how long until, because my stance on this whole thing right now with AI and cars and self-driving is we're not there yet, and it's a little scary how much we're pushing for it. How long until an automobile gets a virus? And I'm talking computer virus, malicious malware virus.
Oh, I think it's already happened.
Because these manufacturers are not putting the R&D into, they don't have guys that are security experts that I know of in teams working for, you know, Ford on the car platform. Now they might have that on the corporate network side, right? But what malware prevention do people have? Like, are they building into cars right now? And I don't think much, right?
Right.
But the more that you automate what's in that vehicle, the more self-driving, the more capabilities it has, whether or not they're turned on all the time or not, the higher the risk that something like that happens and takes over your car in a bad way. You know, another country, cyber attacks or whatever. So, all right. So here's my movie idea. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. So there's a guy, this is 10 years in the future, okay? Set somewhere around 2030. Lives in the Pacific Northwest. We have a cyber attack that takes over. It's a massive computer virus that takes over automobiles, and we've moved to a highly automated, mostly electric vehicle fleet of cars throughout the world. Okay, so most of everything on the road today is, in the future, it's going to be electric, right? 10 years from now.
Right.
This guy owns one of the last production model Ford Broncos that rolled off the assembly line, gasoline engine, internal combustion.
I love it.
But those have been outlawed by the government 10 years in the future. Okay? So he's been hiding it in his in-laws' garage somewhere out in the valley, and he's just got a cover on it, you know, and then chaos strikes, right? And the world gets taken over by, and you got like code running rogue, like people being driven off cliffs and into buildings, and you know, it's bad, right? And it's unsafe. And so it turns out that this whole thing was started by some mad engineer that's, you know, a disgruntled employee out of like Facebook or something, right? And he just
drawing me in, man. Can I go make some popcorn real quick?
Yeah, right. And he figures out that there's a massive security hole in all these manufacturers using the same piece of hardware, the same chipset in a lot of the vehicles. So like 90% of them are affected, right?
Yeah.
So there's one man that has the ability. You got to drive to Facebook headquarters, like wherever that is, and you got to find this malicious code and take out the central, you know, and basically you've got to disinfect the bad code, right? But you got, it's a far enough trip that you've got to get there in some sort of vehicle, and it can't be an EV because there's too high of a risk. So this guy goes out and he pulls the cover off the Bronco, and you see him talking to it, and he says, because we name our vehicles, right?
Of course we
do. And
he
says, we may not make it back from this, but I want you to know it'll be worth it. All right? And it's all about the journey. And now I think I want the working title. How about this? I told you so.
Oh, love it, man.
Right?
And if this is out, this is recorded, man. So if we need to go be looking at people if they take this idea.
So
Can he be called like a superhero, like malware man?
Sure, man. Whatever. So have you figured out this is you yet? Have you figured out that I've got you cast?
I know.
Okay.
PNW. Yeah.
right.
I caught all that.
And here's the reason for the Bronco is because, see, the EVs can block you to get from your destination, but if you've got a capable enough off-road vehicle, you can just climb right over them. You can just go right around them or wherever you need to go, right? Now, plot twist, right?
Okay.
At the end, so I'm thinking maybe you think we could talk Marlon into like narrating this thing.
Like, absolutely, man.
I'm a fan for the narrator-driven stories. I love that.
Marlon, if you're listening, we've got you. We've got a spot for you, buddy.
But here's the because this movie will never get made, so I'm going to go ahead and here's the plot twist at the end. Okay, the plot twist at the end is that Marlon's been your friend Marlon, friend of the show, has been doing the narration the whole time in the movie. Right. And then we learn in one of the last couple scenes in the build-up that the voice that you're hearing is actually the voice of your Bronco.
Ooh.
Because there's just enough tech in that thing that it's conscious and aware, but not enough that it was affected by this virus. It's sort of like Commander Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. Like he's one of the good AI, right?
Right.
Which sacrifices himself for the good of all humanity.
Ooh, and if we did, you know who I would commission to make this thing for the movie? Gateway Bronco.
Ooh, yeah, there you go, man. They could do it. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gateway Bronco. That's who I'd put in. I'd get them involved, man.
I mean, we joke about this, but that could actually be a thing.
It really could. It really could, man. That's exciting, man. I didn't expect this today talking to you. I didn't know you had some movie plot going on back there behind the scenes. I thought we were just going to be talking about this thing coming out during the Super Bowl, and it'll be a fun ad to watch. I've seen, I think it's either 3 or 4 different short videos on this that they're going to be running through the Super Bowl.
The Hummer.
It's up, yeah, the Hummer, and it's interesting. But they keep driving home the fact that it is the silent revolution, the quiet revolution.
Well, and that's all. That's great. And the front end. I saw pictures of the front end. You saw them too. It looks like it's very, very similar to the H3.
Yeah, and speaking of the H3, and we were talking, is this a bad move for GM on this thing? No, I don't think so. They actually couldn't have picked a better model to bring back as an EV.
It's not coming back any other way.
No, because they completely destroyed the thing as it was before as a gasoline engine.
The H3 was kind of
the H3 T, man. I mean, they were using those inline 5-cylinder 20-valve dual overhead cam Atlas engines that were used in the early production of the Colorado. It was built on the GMC Canyon and Chevrolet Colorado platform.
Yeah,
and they had to retool those things as well and move on to a different version. Those engines were horrible.
So you were about to get into. Do you have any more specs that before I pulled you into my movie pitch? We were gonna talk some. Do you have any more specs that you're aware of on this thing?
There's not a lot out there other than what we're already hearing. I do know that what's going to come out is going to be a truck, basically. That's what you're going to see first.
Yeah, which there was a gasoline Hummer truck version. I think it was in the H3 line, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the H3T.
Okay.
So I do know that's what they're going to be bringing out first, which makes sense because they're competing with Rivian. They're going to be competing with the Ford F-150. They're going to be now competing with, guess what? The Tesla Cybertruck. So, wow, man.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and we don't have to turn this into, we're pretty good where we are, I think, time-wise. But is there anything you want to throw out to GM in case they're listening in terms of, it may be too late, which, in which case the movie needs to be made. But what do they need to do to get right in this? What things does this need to have in order for it to be a success? Do you want to venture a couple suggestions, or do you want me to?
I think that they need to do the, it definitely needs to be a quad motor.
Okay, meaning once again, I'm going to Tony Romo okay. So Jay's talking a dedicated electric motor for each wheel of the vehicle.
Right, and I think that they must be doing that because of the amount of horsepower they're getting out of this thing. You can't have that without all of that. So I would say they can't go to just a 2-wheel drive. It needs to be an all-wheel drive all the time. I also think that they need to do exactly what we talked about with what Ford needs to do with the Bronco, which is allow your fan base of Hummers to accessorize this thing. So don't build it out to where we can't modify it from an overland standpoint. If I'm GM, I'm like looking after that overland crowd as well, just like Rivian did, and go from there. I'm
gonna pile onto that a little bit. So GM notoriously loves to, if you go right now today to GM's website and just pick a car like mid-range, okay, Corvette top end, but go Camaro, go do a Silverado, like do a half-ton Silverado. GM is probably one of the most ridiculous when it comes to the ability to sort of customize. Like they've got just thousands of options for these things, right?
That's right.
But that's not enough. You need to make sure that the aftermarket also has the ability to mod your vehicle. That's what Jay's saying, that if you just are going to try to channel everybody into GM's pocket for all those accessories, I think that's a mistake. You're going to lose sales over it because they're going to go buy a Jeep because Jeeps already have that capability.
That's right. And they're jumping in. I wouldn't say they're jumping into this thing late because they've been working diligently behind the scenes. I think this is a platform for them to help them along with their Cadillac line.
Okay.
Because, I really do, because then if you're successful with the Hummer, that can open the door for your other badges.
And in terms of being late to the party, if you think about when this thing is slated to come out, it's kind of when the Cybertruck's going to come out. It's kind of when Rivian's targeting being for sale.
It's when the Ford Mustang Mach-E is. I mean, everything is following suit in where we're going to be at. Now, I made a major announcement, a news segment, maybe several weeks back about VW, how they have live. Yeah.
I heard news. Sorry, I can't.
Yeah. Okay. I know you cannot do that. Yeah. We confirmed that VW has announced that they are going to meet their goal of over 1 million electric vehicles worldwide, globally, a year before or 2 years before, I think it was, before they said they would. So this is how quickly this is happening, and it boils down to the tech world. This is all tech stuff, man. This is AI. This is software. Anybody, man, who is in that industry, and I am so happy for my son, who is a software engineer, because this is right down your street, my friend.
So a year and change ago, when we started talking, when we finally convinced ourselves to record these conversations and put them out there, and it seemed like it wasn't very long at all before EV conversations. I mean, just they were all over the news, and Tesla was just a common, conversation piece with us. Neither one of us really have background in electronic vehicles, but we just realized that this ain't going away. And interestingly enough, now fast forward to today, I mean, would you have thought that it would be this much of a dominating conversation? I mean, a week doesn't go by. We're talking about some manufacturer introducing some new EV. Right.
It is. Our timing of getting, having conversations and putting these things out there for our fan base, our audience, could not have been better, because there is no lack of material to talk about on a daily basis. I'm telling you guys, Keith and I are in constant contact. I've said this before. There is never a moment. We might have I think our conversations end when we put our heads on our
one of us passes out,
right, or something, man, because I mean, just so much to talk about. It's all over the place. And we said this early on when we started podcasting, is that how
I hate to say I told you so.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. But we said that how quickly with technology, like for example, televisions, how just in a short 2 to 3 years, how quickly we've gone from like the standard plasma 1080p's to these like LCD ultra high definition 4K. Now you've got OLED, ULED. I mean, it's just crazy.
If you look at the rate, there's a term for this, and I'm not gonna know it fast enough. But see, this is the beauty of post, as they say, is I can throw it up on the screen and look like I knew the whole time. But the rate at which technology doubles back on itself. So if you go back to the days of the 45 and 33 RPM records, and then 8-track tapes in your car, because you couldn't really put a record player in your car, and then we got into cassette tapes, And those were around for a good while. And then we got into CDs, and those were around for a pretty good while. And then the digital music revolution. And now if you look at things like, if you go on the video side, we kind of started with DVDs, and then we went to HD DVD, and then Blu-ray, and then we got into the streaming thing, and then we got into 4K streaming thing, and it seems like we're kind of to the point now where every couple years your TV is becoming obsolete.
Right. I mean, I just replaced my Wi-Fi router, which I'll put a piece up. It'll be on our YouTube channel. That'll be youtube.com/The Parts Counter Gurus for anybody who's interested in getting over there. And while you're there, by the way, please subscribe and ring that bell and give us a thumbs up. But thumbs up. But I think the word maybe you were looking for is like the growth is exponentially. I mean, it's so fast, man. It's just again, we talked about it way back with how in the late 60s we put a man on the moon, and then look where we're at now. Look where cell phones, like in the 90s, went from where they are to where they are now. Apple changed the game with the smartphones, and then now look at the smartphone world. I mean, everybody has a smartphone, and then now the smartphones do more than your computer did 20 years ago. These are signs of the time that we live in with artificial intelligence and technology that help us grow this sector of our lives. And it is a sector of our life because our life is completely controlled by all of these things now. And it won't be long in the AI world before, we'll just basically think something and it happens.
So I would say if you are at all thinking about making a vehicle change in the next 18 to 24 months, I would seriously factor in an EV, whether that be a truck, an SUV, whatever. Not saying about, not paid by the, and then go compare it to the traditional, gasoline and diesel engines or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. But in terms of what you are going to have presented to you in that 18 to 24 month window, the manufacturers are all hedging their bets on electric. So it needs to be at least a point of consideration in your car buying process. It's already on my radar. I told you this when Ford released the Mach-E. Yeah. When Ford released the Mach-E, man, it's like I told you. I said, you know what? Next vehicle I buy, it could be that, but I'm going to wait and see what happens. Oh, which by the way, for all of you people who have made my Mini Cooper the butt of the joke. I'm going to be laughing because I got a strange feeling that my little Mini Cooper with a 2.0 liter engine in it is going to be exempt because it already will meet the futuristic EPA mandate for a vehicle that you can own. One problem with that though is you won't be able to climb over. You could put some monster truck tires and a lift kit on it. We could go that route in the movie if you know what. We're going to have some test groups and some focus groups, and we're going to have to shoot a couple different options and green screens and see which one goes over better. I think that's maybe the way to go.
We may need to come back to what I'm about to say.
Okay.
And visit this in a couple years and see if this is being talked about. But it will. I'm thinking that how will the EPA deal with current gasoline engines? Will there be a grandfather clause? I'm sure there will be of some sort, but I would be willing to bet that there will be a level of phase out that you will be offered an incentive to get rid of it so they can go crush these things and completely get rid of gasoline engines over a specific displacement. And why do I say that? Because I am very aware that China, their vehicles, their new vehicles, they have a life they have an expiration date built into them there's not a heavy rebuilding market in that country. You just don't. They don't allow you to really work on them like we do here, where you can just sit in your backyard and tear the engine apart and put it back together.
Well, and there are already some. There's some maneuvering going on here in the United States, and this is on another video that you can find on our YouTube channel about the RPM Act, which is more about the racing industry. But the EPA is stepping in, going, "Hey, you cannot build a race car because emissions."
Right.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
And they're actively pursuing that enforcement today. And if you want to know more about that, watch our video on the RPM Act. We've got links to the website at Parts Counter Gurus about it and what to do and how to read more and find out more and learn more. But this isn't going away. It isn't going to change. It's going to be a further push to reduce emissions. Whether you agree with that or not, it doesn't matter, to be frank with you. It's happening. And you can do things to try to enforce that or change it, whatever. But it is an issue, and it is not going away. So you better be prepared to deal with it one way or the other.
Right. So I'm going to give a piece of advice to any of the young kids out there, say in high school right now, that are learning, or in a trade school. If you're in a trade school right now, learning a trade in the automotive industry, in the automotive world, if I'm you guys, you might think about looking into the onboard systems management, all the controls, the technology, and forge a career in that, because that is where the future is in our common everyday modes of transportation, people.
And if you're good enough, we might base a sidekick character on you in the movie, where you're the tech guy that can help fix short-term problems and decipher code and all that stuff in the back seat while Jay's driving down the road, trying to make it to Facebook headquarters, right?
Right, that's it, man.
All right, man. So
great topic. Let's
come back and revisit in one of the next few videos what we think about these Hummer commercials after we watch them. And
you got it.
What else? Is that it? You want to give everybody some social stuff?
Yep. You guys come on over. We'd love to have you be a fan of ours, no doubt about it. So you can follow us on Facebook. That'd be facebook.com / Parts Counter Gurus. You can follow us on Instagram. That's instagram.com / the Parts Counter Gurus. Check us out over on YouTube, our YouTube channel. And by the way, I'm giving you all this information. You can go to one place and find every single link, and that is our website, which is www.partscountergurus.com. Up there, we've got a YouTube icon link. We've got podcast links up there. We've got mentioned on the podcast links. We've got it all. We also have a nice we make it easy for you to shop on Amazon by clicking on the icon up there. Put something in the basket. It helps us out, because these shows are not free to us. They're free to you, but not free to us. It costs a little bit of money to put these things together, and any of those transactions help us out. But most importantly, we want your subscriptions, guys. We really do. YouTube is our driving force in regards to getting the video out to you, the video podcast out to you, because all of our other podcasting platforms are audio only at this point. We have video podcast over on YouTube. When you're there, just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, ring the bell, all those sorts of things, and that will help us out tremendously. We have goals, and our goal is to grow this audience so we can continue to do this and have fun with it. So
I'm going to add one more thing to that, and that is, tell us what you think about this whole Hummer situation. If you're a fan of what's about to happen, let us know in the comments. If you think it's a horrible idea, let us know that. If there's something you want us to try and figure out about this, sure, put that in there. We would love to hear from you if there's something you have to say about the topic of GM bringing the Hummer back and all of that. Or, hey, if you're connected in the movie industry and you know how to get this sucker picked up, couldn't hurt.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope the Hummer won't be a bummer. You know.
Oh, nice one. Okay. Oh, okay. On that note, that is Jay over there. I am Keith. We appreciate you watching and listening, everybody. And we'll see you at the movies.
Later, guys.